For a lot of home cooks, cast iron can be scary. From seasoning to maintaining to dealing with rust, cast iron can seem like more trouble than it's worth.
Well, we're here to tell you that not only is cooking with cast iron absolutely worth it, cleaning and maintaining a cast iron pan or skillet does not have to be scary.
Today we're going to talk about cast iron. What you should do first when you buy a brand new cast iron pan, then everyday maintenance like cleaning off crud and maintaining seasoning, and finally bringing back a cast iron pan from the dead, which is one of my great joys in life.
Well, you're in luck, Lisa, because I brought some very sad cast iron pans that could definitely use some love.
Bring them on.
All right, Lisa, we have a brand new cast iron skillet here. What do you actually need to do for us to cook an egg, cook right now in this pan? What do we need to do?
Nothing at all. The really beautiful part about this is, it says right here, seasoned. It is ready to go. If this pan were unseasoned, it would be gray, it would be dull, it would not be black. This is a pan that's pre-seasoned at the factory. After they make it, they hang it up and they spray it with vegetable oil and they heat it up and it turns black and it's ready to go right out of the box.
You mentioned seasoning. I think a lot of people, myself included, are afraid of that word.
Yeah, there's really nothing to be afraid of. All seasoning is, there's so much misinformation. It's not flavor. It's not burnt on food. Seasoning is when you put oil on bare cast iron and heat it up. The oil actually changes its nature. The molecules link up and bond together and to the pan and become a thin layer of what's called polymerized oil, which is just a natural nonstick surface. Seasoning basically protects that surface of the iron and keeps it from rusting. And as a bonus, we get a nonstick surface that's totally natural and constantly renewable forever and ever. We're just going to take off this label, rinse it off, and dry it and start cooking. You don't need to use a nonstick pan for eggs. Once you've got seasoning in your pan, and this is a new pan, it's already seasoned, it's going to get better every time you use it. But look, it's not stuck. Look at this.
Look at that, sliding around on the first time.
I know, right? Now over here on the side where we didn't have any butter, that is a little bit sticky, but we can clean that in 2 seconds. It'll be great. So look at this pan, brand new, cooked an egg, and it's already pretty clean. And that fat that we cooked in is already improving the surface of this pan more and more. This pan, you will bond with it as you think about how it looks, how it feels.
We're building its heritage.
We're building its heritage. And honestly, I always think of it like your skin. You're used to, if your skin feels dry, you moisturize. Mm-hmm. If you get in a habit of moisturizing, it's not going to feel dry. It's just like that with cast iron. This is a natural material and it just needs a little TLC, very minor. And once you understand that, that's all there is to know. So I rinsed this pan off in the sink, used a little soft scrub brush on it to get anything that was stuck, dried it with the towel. But this is only half your cleaning. You got to put it back on the stove and fully dry it every single time. We're warming it through again, and we're just going to touch it up with a little tiny bit of oil. Just about the size of a dime. Mm-hmm. You almost never need more than that. If you do, you're just going to waste it because you're going to wipe it all over the surface. And you can see it turning a slightly darker color as the oil hits it. Mm-hmm. It's okay to get carbon on your paper towel. It's fine. Coat the surface very lightly. Keep wiping it. I go around and then I go back and forth. If you leave it shiny and oily, like some people say after you're done using it, you should oil it. The problem is you didn't do that last step to polymerize that oil. So all it is greasy. It's literally just gunky. And the oil will turn rancid if you don't use the pan really often. What you want to do though is as it's still heating up and drying and everything, you want to wipe off that pan so that there's no moisture and there's no oil beating up. You want to get that oil as thin as possible. You want to feel like it's gone. It's not. It's not shiny. It's not greasy. It looks like it did when it came out of the package. It's got the same texture. It's matte.
Some people do it in the oven and some people do it on the stovetop. What's the difference and is one better than the other?
I would say that the stovetop takes about 5 minutes and the oven takes a couple of hours. Generally, if you really have to do some major rehab on your pan, you will put a very, very thin coat of oil on the pan and you'll turn it over on the oven rack and put it in the oven for 400 to 500 degrees for an hour, turn off the oven and leave it overnight. That will give you a nice even coat of seasoning over the inside and outside and handle and everything. But it takes a long time. That's not routine maintenance. That's like, I've really got to get another layer of seasoning on this whole pan. When I'm done with that, I just turn the stove off and let that pan sit and cool in place and go do other things. When it's cold, I put it away. But that just lets it cool down gradually as it's polymerized and it will bond and you won't disturb it in any way. So that's cooking in a brand new pan. And that's just the first step in this pan's journey.
Let's talk about an everyday mess that's a little harder. Let's kick it up a notch. We have a steak here.
So that fat, while it's spraying around on the stovetop, it's also spraying the sides of the pan. It's spraying around the bottom. It's hot. It's polymerizing. We're laying down seasoning without doing a thing while we cook. You know, it's a side benefit of actually using the pan is that it will become more seasoned and it just gets better and better.
I'm gonna let it cook a few more minutes longer. Why make this too easy? And then we're gonna try to clean this mess up.
Bring it on.
Ooh, she's not afraid. I love this.
You cannot ruin cast iron. That's the bottom line. You can literally put it in the driveway and drive over it. You can leave it out in the rain. It'll be fine. You can bring it back.
Wait till she sees the pans we have coming next.
I can't wait to see this.
These look gorgeous. Let's remove them.
Okay, so then what I would normally do now is just take it off the heat, just because why burn everything on more than you have to? And let it cool a little bit because you don't want it to get like super ripping hot. But again, we're going to do the same thing as we did with the eggs. We're going to take it to the sink. We're going to wipe it out. We're going to run hot water on it, a little scrub brush, whatever we need to do to just get it back down to where we were before. This is it. As always, you go through that same little ritual. Doesn't take a ton of time. Put it back on the warm burner. Turn it on.
It looks great.
Get it thoroughly dry. I'm going to take this off just because we don't want to trap any moisture in there.
We're in seasoning mode.
Yep. You can see that the pan looks a little parched around here, right?
And uneven.
A little uneven,
Yeah.
yeah. So we're going to fix that. Put a couple of drops. No more than that, about the size of a dime. Wipe it around. You can already see it's looking prettier. And you can tell if you need a little more or a little less.
You kind of slowly build up to it. You start with a few and then add a little, rub it in, add more if you need it.
If I need to, yeah. I mean, it's almost like you're painting. You want a nice even surface. You want it to look that nice color. You can see it's starting to look more even, less parched, more moisturized, as they say. And it's just looking like it did when it was new.
And what kind of oil is it?
I'm just using basic old vegetable oil here. Any kind is fine. Hopefully with a slightly higher smoke point, like a plain old vegetable oil is probably best. The cheapest stuff, this is I think canola. And that's it. Give it a couple of minutes. Wipe it again if it beads up.
Looks like new.
Looks like new. Just turn it off and it'll be ready to cook again. It looks good as new. So this is like a gallery of horrors of all the things that could go wrong if you neglect your pans. And sometimes you find them this way in yard sales and woohoo, go for it, because these can all be fixed. So we see some pretty bad rust here. This one has a combination of rust and like salt residue. It looks like an old road in the winter.
What's going on here? This kind of looks good, comparatively at least.
Okay, touch that surface inside.
Ew.
Your fingers are gonna stick. Look, you can see. It's like gross, right?
Yeah.
That was cleaned and oiled and not heated. So that is a thick slick of oil that has just sat there turning into gummy, sticky, icky mess. If they had wiped and heated that, it would have been fine. This grill pan is disgusting. It's covered with food and blackened bits. That, again, is not seasoning. That is just a mess, but we can fix it. So when you're going to clean a really terrible pan and bring it back from the dead, there's a whole bunch of tools you can use, and they're kind of escalating. And there isn't like a hard and fast rule. I use them and see what I need to escalate to. Mm-hmm. So starting from maybe the most gentle, a non-soapy sponge, the scrubby side. This is our favorite O-Cedar Scrunch sponge, and it's got this really lovely scrubby side that doesn't get gunked up. You can use a nice brush, so if you're using hot water tends to loosen things up a little more than cold. So this is nice because your hand doesn't have to be in the hot water, and you got your scrubby side, and there's a scraper here, which is nice. It's on the back, you can scrape
For
up anything.
a really stuck-on bit.
Yeah, you can get in there and get that out. We'll see. This is called a chainmail scrubber, and you've probably seen these for cast iron. We've recommended these for years. They're a little rough for everyday seasoning. You don't really need them most of the time, and if you do, go gently because they work. And
Whoa, that chainmail's the next escalation.
Right. This is our arsenal.
Yeah.
We got our chainmail. It's very medieval.
Medieval, yes.
Then steel wool, and this are just I just got some real basic ones from Scotch-Brite. They even have a cast iron pan on the package, which is kind of funny. But these guys are good because the fibers are very sharp and tiny. This is good for when you really need some muscle. And then when you're on the stove and you're trying to recondition it and you want a little scrubbing power, you can use something really simple, which is just your oil, any kind of vegetable oil, and some kosher salt, which is coarse. And the salt acts like a scrub. You know, for our face,
It's an
we use
exfoliant. Yes, it
right?
is like skin.
An
Yeah.
exfoliant moisturizer. So you put it on the stove and warm it all up and scrub it with a paper towel or one of your brushes, and that will scrub a lot of the stuff off. But then you want to rinse all that salt off and go back to drying it, oiling it, heating it.
Just oil.
Same.
Can I ask you about the soap thing real quick?
Yeah.
Controversial. What's your take?
You can use soap at this point if you want. What you're trying to do is you're going to scrape off all the crud. You're going to scrape down to the, level of the pan. You don't have to get back to bare metal, but you want to scrape all the crud off, and you're going to use whatever tools you have at your disposal. Soap is a tool. You can use it if you want to. You often don't have to, but go for it if you need it. You cannot ruin these pans, and that's something I cannot emphasize enough. It's not scary. If you got the seasoning wrong, scrape it off and start over. If it gets rusty, scrape it off and start over. You can do that forever. You will hand this down to your great-great-grandchildren, and they will have a perfectly workable pan.
These are looking pretty good relatively to where they came from.
Absolutely. I mean, that one would look like a pile of junk. This one was full of rust. They now are functional pans. They are ready to cook.
Yes, these are not junkyard pans anymore.
Not at all.
No, we could do a little more detail work in a perfect world, but these are
Just
good.
as easily, just get back to cooking and enjoying your pans. Here's a pan that has had a lot of love. This is a Wagner pan from probably 150 years ago. And obviously someone has never given up on this pan. Before I got it, it was in good shape, and it's remained in good shape in my hands. And I hope to hand it down to my kids and their kids and whoever.
150 years, there have been some burnt-on messes in this pan.
And yet, here it is. Nobody gave up on this pan. It's just proof that if you clean and season your pan and keep it going, it will last lifetimes.
Thanks so much for following along. We hope we inspired you to love your cast iron pan. Please let us know your cast iron stories in the comments.
For more information about all the gear we talked about today, check out the links below or go to americastestkitchen.com.
Yes, and like this video and subscribe so you never miss an episode.
We'll see you next time.